Today on Metal and Mortgages, we discuss
Fred Durst getting drop kicked by some clowns.
Google's just passing up on cheese.
And some artwork self-destructs worth $1.4 million.
Elon decides to do for Flint what Flint can't do for itself. Welcome to the Joe Rogan Show, episode 16.
I wish. Wish we had that kind of money.
He's not really monetizing that like that. He sells ads on like the podcast, like the audio version. There's like 10 minutes, dude. Thank God for that 30-second fast forward button. So I'll be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. One more. Oh, too far.
I know he did say he will not allow Spotify or anybody to stream his stuff.
Yeah,
so.
he doesn't. Yeah, he's not interested in Spotify or Pandora. I didn't think Pandora did podcasts, but I just whatever Joe says.
So did you see this stuff about Mr. Durst?
No, I saw it, and to be honest with you, I really just didn't care enough to click on it.
Well, apparently he was, he was doing some show, and earlier that day, I guess it was a festival of some kind, and there were many acts. And earlier that day was Insane Clown Posse, and
ICP.
One of the members, I don't think it was one of the main two, but anyway, Fred Durst was on the last, note of faith, and this guy comes running from the backstage and just does a full Karate Kid dive at his head
that way, like a Liu Kang on Mortal Kombat kind of shit.
If he would have jumped like a foot later, he would have really
took him out. Where did it land?
It would have caused
he
some
missed?
damage to his neck.
Did he miss?
It was level. It was
but
right
did he
level
miss?
with his head. Oh yeah, he missed.
Damn.
If he would have jumped a foot later, he just needed one more step, and then he would have just plunged his head like.
Did he just watch the
Durst would have went to the
big
hospital.
fight or something? He was in a mood.
I don't know what happened.
Damn. So there was no backstory to why he did that? He was just being an ass?
No.
Is there some beef between them or something?
I don't know, but I think, all this UFC stuff going on with, McGregor fighting Mayweather, which is a boxer versus UFC.
That was
and all
a
this
cash
kind of
grab,
stuff.
but yeah, go ahead.
Exactly. Let's do some more cash grabs. I want to see Fred Durst versus Scott Stapp versus ICP, something. Remember back in the day, Fred Durst?
Oh man, I know, but they getting older, dude. They break a hip and shit.
Man, that's true.
Still
be fun.
They
to
got
watch.
gout and lumbago
There's
and
celebrity death match on
and
MTV.
bursitis and I never watched it. Honestly, I didn't watch it. I didn't find it funny. So
Chris Cornell has a statue that was unveiled in Seattle now.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
pretty cool stuff.
So
I read about that, man. Well deserved.
And what else is going on? Deftones is in the studio. Stephen Carpenter has a picture has surfaced with his new custom 9-string guitar.
So you're saying that Chino and the bass player, didn't even bother learning his name. Those two guys are in this studio, and
Carpenter's hanging out at the ESP
Carpenter's
shop,
trying to
get an extra string thrown in, squeeze an extra string every record.
Carpenter's hanging out with Be Real from Cypress Hill.
What, I understand that, he started out with 6 strings. A couple albums later, he went to 7. Then he goes to 8. Now he's at 9. It seems like every record he's trying to squeeze in an extra string because does he not? Can he not tune it differently or something? Does he have to keep adding strings to the guitar?
I kind of wish he would go off on his own and just do a solo album or something. You know what I mean? Get some guests to join him and that kind of stuff. I'd like to see what he can do without Chino trying to turn every song into a panty moistener, because that's what he's doing. This Gore, that whole album, it seemed like every song he was trying to just wet panties.
I gotta be honest, I didn't listen to that whole record because the first 4 tracks I listened to just turned me off.
I've got it on vinyl. From what I know of it, the backstory of it is that basically the album was written. They called Steffen and was like, "Hey man, come and do your tracks," and he was like, I don't really want to.
That's right.
I'm not interested in this album. This album is not me. Everlast has a new album out. I like it. Sometimes I get sick of hearing the same.
He was just on Joe Rogan recently.
Same old, hardcore stuff. I want to hear something.
He actually owns his
different.
masters.
Oh yes,
so he gets all the
very
money.
Important. It's very.
He gets all of his own.
Very
money.
important that you own your masters. For those of us who have local bands, one of which I know is signed with a record label. I don't know what kind of deal they got. Not going to get into it, but hopefully they
own their masters.
They didn't sign a 360, and they get to keep their masters. So those are the two most important things. The 360 deal, they get a cut of everything you touch. They get a cut of your merch. They get a cut of every show you play. They get a cut. If you fart and get a nickel out of it, they get a cut of it. It's so. See what else. System of a Down has been rumored to wanting to hire a therapist. Like
going
Metallica
down
did.
Metallica road, yeah. Oh man, they might need it though. Actually, they can't seem.
Come on, man. Come on. You know what? It either works or it doesn't.
They can tour fine.
Okay,
they go out and play.
Let's go back.
They just can't write a record.
Let's go back to the Metallica thing. You heard the album that came out after that whole. Yeah, it was probably their worst album. It was like, to me, it was like the furthest thing from them that I've heard them do. But
I'd rather go listen to Load than Saint Anger, for sure.
Dude, I'd rather hear the Black Album, and I'm sorry for those of you who liked that, and actually that was your introduction to Metallica. That was where I jumped off the ship.
Black Album was better than Load and Unload.
I jumped off of that ship into... luckily at that time when that album came out, it was a great disappointment for, the old school Metallica fans, which old school back then meaning, 5-6 years. Luckily we had things like Alice in Chains that just come out.
True.
Kind of announced some potential inductees for the 2019 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Somebody wore a shirt about consider these people.
Yeah, I didn't see that part, but that's interesting. I don't really.
Alice in Chains was on his shirt.
Give a flying shit enough for me to make a shirt over it. I can't think of a band I like enough.
I think it was the Pearl Jam bassists.
I think last year one of the nominees was Judas Priest, and they got denied. Come on, man. Judas Priest has done more for rock and roll than just about any band that's already been inducted.
I stopped watching the Grammys the year that Lane Stanley passed away, due to the
2003.
Due to the fact that they listed all these people that had died that year on the screen on the televised show, and they didn't say anything about him. Yeah. So that was it for me in the Grammys. I was done. And it doesn't matter because the Foo Fighters win it every year anyway. So why tune in?
I don't know. There was one year. Was it Seven Dust was up like 2-3 years ago?
Who won it?
Jethro Tull.
Who won it? Ghost.
Or something like that.
Rats.
Ghost. Yeah, one of them.
Get the hell out of here.
Yeah. Anyway, and that wasn't even that album.
The song that Seven Dust was nominated for, though, they had a co-writer on that. It wasn't just written by Seven Dust.
The Trust?
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of any award show. Last night was the American Music Awards, and I'm not a fan of any of that crap. Why do we need to take people that are already blessed with so much success, fame, money, networked with all the big names? They have every large name in the business, in music, in film. They have all of that right here in their phone, and they can just text them whenever they want.
I think Sting said it best. He won an award one time, and he said, this is fine and all, but the real award is the music itself. It's hearing back what I created. Right. So if you're out there right now, this hasn't been a career for you, just know that the music you create, that's the reward.
That's
is what it is.
The award. Yeah, and I agree. I wasn't aware that he had made that statement. Very well said. I like Sting. I just think that award shows are just crap, and of course, catching a glimpse of the morning news this morning before work. Taylor Swift had to say something political. It was minor, but still, once again, keep your politics to yourself. Nobody gives a shit. Save it. You're up there to get your 36th music award and promote your album that has probably already sold 26 million copies, and promote your new video that probably already has over 1 billion views on YouTube that you've monetized through Vivo, and you're getting huge checks off of that.
Or your trucking company, Swift Trucking.
Taylor Swift. Yeah. I'm just glad she at least plays Taylor guitars. That was like the only obvious brand for her. But anyway, there's a few inductees and or potential inductees for 2019. I thought I'd mention a couple of them, the ones I care about. And this may surprise you that I actually care about these. Rage Against the Machine would be one. Do you think they're worthy of being inducted into the Hall of Fame?
No.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Really? No. You don't think Rage Against the Machine did anything for music?
I mean,
you don't think that they inspired people, that they
I guess if
cool
you
music?
I thought you didn't like politics involved and put into your music. Didn't
That's
you just
different.
say that
That's
recently?
different. When it's in the song, okay? When it's in the lyrics, it's different. When you're getting an award on a stage, shut the hell up. When you're opening your spot as a musical guest on Saturday Night Live, don't let the band play an extra 4 bars so that you can go, yeah, right here, Mr. Trump.
What about wearing the Kanye, the red hat, the Make America Great?
I said I said the same thing. I think he needs to keep his opinions to himself, although I did give him props for having the guts to do that in an environment where that is more than not welcome.
Honestly, I just got to tell you that the reason why I don't like Rage is because that guy's not a vocalist. He's a rapper, and he's very nasally, and I can't stand him. He can't hold a note.
I like his flow.
Well,
man.
he can't sing.
I like his flow.
Well, he can't sing.
I didn't care so much for the last album or two. Battle of Los Angeles. I thought it was a little too militant and too, agenda based. Getting a message out. Bomb Track. Bomb Track was fun.
There's a lot of bad blood in that
Bomb
band.
Track was just fun. Oh, I know there is.
They
Tom Morello just put out a song for. I think it's suicide awareness or something like that. He did a song for it, which is pretty cool. And he's working with all these other different artists, these other different rap artists and stuff like that, which is cool. And Tom Morello is a very.
I think I tried to listen to some of that you're talking about, something he recently put together, and there was just F-bombs all over it, and I couldn't listen to it.
Why? You start going to
I don't
church
know.
all of a sudden?
It just seemed like redundant cussing.
Yeah, I get that.
Just,
I get that. I listened to them when they had the Prophets of Rage thing, and some of their lyrics were like, really? I mean, you're sitting here up on your, with your millions of dollars in the bank, talking about being broke.
Yeah,
talking about being poor. Come on, man. Well, anyway, they're one of the potential inductees for 2019 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Def Leppard. Do you think they've been around for
if you
82,
like 86 vocal tracks stacked on top of each other, that would be a go-to.
Wow, you're just a hater. I think you're mad because that doesn't say sentient shell.
Yeah, right.
Maybe you'll get in, in 20 years.
Yeah, sure.
When you're walking like, I'm coming to get it.
I'm for the reward that Sting talked about. That's all I keep in the back of my mind.
I'm with you. How about this one? And this, I don't understand where they fit into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But LL Cool J.
Okay.
Did you listen to anything from the 80s of his? I'm not talking like his mid-90s crap, all that washed out, like TLC type stuff.
I would listen to LL over any of these lazy lip rappers today that sound like they're on pills or whatever.
I've got a double album, a vinyl of LL's greatest hits, man. I believe it or not, I like that stuff. I like the old stuff, man. I love it.
Mama Said.
Radio and Mama Said. Bad. What was the Going Back to Cali?
Thought that was Biggie.
No.
Okay.
Going Back to Cali. That was on the Less Than Zero movie soundtrack.
Biggie had one
As
too, though.
on that same soundtrack, Slayer redid Inagata Davida. It's awesome. I can't find a copy of it anywhere.
Nice.
I've looked all over the place. So yeah, that's that. Now the fan vote for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 2019 is open. They're gonna,
Wait a second.
They're gonna there's a fan vote section.
Hold on. LL Cool J is going to go in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
He's a nominee for induction.
I don't
Not everybody
understand.
that gets nominated. It's like, you know,
He's
any
a
other.
rapper.
Well, I mean, there's other rappers in there too. I think the Beastie Boys are in there or something too. I mean,
Really?
you know, yeah, crazy
Shouldn't
things
they have
like
a
that.
rap Hall of Fame for this?
That's kind of my point. What I said prior to saying this, to saying his name, I said, I don't know why he's in a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Going,
that doesn't make sense.
maybe he inspired. I mean, I look, dude. I'm as metal as they get, and I listen to LL, so I don't care for any of his movies or his acting, you know, TV shows that he does. How'd you like to go on a cruise, me and you, next year? Of course. Hold on, I gotta invite the wife though.
I've never been on one, and I have been. I really would like to go to Shiprocked, but it seems to be so expensive.
Well, this one's even better. It's the Mega Cruise.
Okay.
Dave Mustaine has a cruise now.
Wow.
Yeah. It's going to leave from L.A. It's, October 13th, 2019. It leaves from L.A. It makes a few, like, stops in, like, San Diego, a couple other places like Mexico. And then it comes back on October 18th. Some of the bands that are going to be on there that, I mean, there's a ton of them, but I just wrote down the ones that I would be, like, up front for, you know. I don't know if Megadeth's doing anything on there. I mean, it's Dave's cruise, so I don't know if it's a given that they're playing or not, but I have no idea. Testament. You know, you probably don't even know a song they did, do you?
I've heard of them.
I love Testament. Alex Skolnick is the man, the guitarist. Anthrax. I love Anthrax. Always have. I was a huge Anthrax
I had a song
fan
called
back in the
Only that I liked.
That was with they had gotten another vocalist. I want to say his name was John Corabi. Somebody's gonna slap me if that's wrong. They had their vocalist dipped kind of in like the mid '90s, and they did a couple albums. I think Sound of White Noise and Stomp 442, and I think that they had a different vocalist on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Their other vocalist that was back, I think his name's Joey.
I've heard about as much of them as I've heard of Pantera. So,
I was Anthrax back in like '87, you know, '88. That's when I got into them. Really, really awesome thrash metal, good stuff.
Who else is on this?
Devil Driver, which is weird. Yeah, that'd be weird.
I would like to
It's
see
weird
that.
to see them with the other guys. Conversion of Conformity.
No, I don't know who that is.
Oh man, well, those guys. The main guy from Corrosion of Conformity has his hands in other bands that I'm sure you've heard of.
Okay.
And we won't go into that right now. Metal Church, you probably, not really, never heard a song they did. Yeah. Yeah, some of these are more of your B-list kind of, metal bands from the 80s. They didn't play the big arenas, but they opened up for bands that did, And Armored Saint. So, I mean, somebody out there's going, hell yeah, Armored Saint.
Right.
Love them, man. I got that, like, all their albums.
Let's go. I'm there.
So I just thought that was kind of cool, man. Dave Mustaine,
Yeah, that is neat.
He's got his own cruise. I mean, what
cool-
if you were, at that level where you could be like, you know what I want to do? I want to get a cruise going.
I wanted to go on a cruise ship and play back when we were in a cover band. So
I'm talking
guys
about
don't do
it's your cruise. Like it's got Mega Cruise is named after Mega Death.
you know what's cool about going on these rock cruises is that you're almost guaranteed to meet the band because they can't get off the boat.
I know.
They're stuck on there with you, buddy.
I
So
want to know
when they're done.
how much weed's going to be on that ship.
When you go down to the casino, they're there too, hanging out, or by the pool or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's pretty neat.
Yeah, well, that's the whole point, I'd like to hang. I can't think of. I'd probably want to hang with either Alex Skolnick or just anybody from Testament. Maybe Dez from Devil Driver would be cool. Ask him why the hell, did you take Cold Chamber that direction to where they sucked, and then you went off and did Devil Driver. I liked Cold Chambers' first album. I really liked it. I still listen to it today. Yep.
This artist named Banksy, he put out it's like a painting that's framed. It sold at auction for $1.4 million.
Damn.
And as soon as the gavel went and it sold,
Is he dead?
no.
He's alive still, and it sold for that kind of money.
Yeah, and from what I know, no one knows his full name. No one knows what he looks like.
He just goes by Banksy.
Yeah, and so this drawing of this, it's like black and white with a girl with a look like a red balloon or something, and it's just like a drawing, and it's in a nice fancy frame. You know, one of those kind of thick frames, like gold looking or something.
Is it really big, like a massive? No, like this table.
Maybe bigger than the size of that prompter there.
Something like that.
Something like that. Anyway, it's hanging on the wall. It auctions off, and somebody buys it and wins the bid for $1.4 million. And in the bottom is a shredder, and the painting drops down through the frame and shreds right in front of him.
You gotta be shitting me.
It was like on a timer or something, or maybe he triggered it with a remote or
beep. Time to.
But they say that, and there's a still image of the people at the auction doing this.
Did he get paid? Paid first? Did he get paid first?
Well, they say that now, that because that happened, it's twice the value now.
All the
all the little
because
confetti.
you can use it as like hamster cage liner.
Yeah, I don't know. Did you see the highlights of McGregor Khabib fight?
I
UFC?
didn't. No, I purposely avoided watching any of the brawl or any of the aftermath. But I did read quite a bit about it.
So what happened, for people who don't know, is Conor McGregor and Khabib, I can't say his last name, he's Russian. They had UFC, I think it was UFC 229. And anyway, Khabib in the 4th round, choked McGregor out. Or tapped him out. He tapped, I mean, he was fixing to break it.
It was a submission.
He was fixing to break his neck. But everybody knew that.
I think he really would have broke his neck.
Yeah, he would have. If you don't, that's why you tap. But, or he had to tap. But, everybody, knew that they speculated, well, Khabib's going to get him on the ground, and that's not Conor's strong suit.
No.
Every time he's lost has been on the ground, and sure enough, this is what happened. However, the aftermath is really the news story now, which is
I mean, Khabib beating McGregor in itself was somewhat of a news story. I mean, the Irish flooded Vegas for that show. I mean, I'm sure that Vegas looked like Ireland for a while.
Yeah. So when Khabib choked him out and he won, he pointed over to Conor's corner and took his mouthpiece out and threw it towards him. And then one of Conor's trainers or fighter friends said something. Khabib jumped out of the octagon over the cage and jumped right on this guy, and a big brawl ensued. Then one of Khabib's entourage jumped into the octagon and started hitting Conor
while he was dazed. Yeah,
in the back of the head. Now, I watched this a little closer, and when Khabib jumped over the fence, another person in Khabib's corner started to jump over the fence. Conor hit him. Then somebody in Khabib's camp came over and then hit Conor. So Conor actually, after Khabib started it because he jumped out of the octagon. Okay, he started it, but then Conor hit somebody in Khabib's camp, and then somebody in Khabib's camp jumped over and pretty much caught Conor off guard and started hitting him in the back of the head. And so basically the UFC, or the Athletic Commission, not the UFC, they held his purse, and they're probably going to suspend him.
Which is $2 million.
Yeah, but they'll release it eventually.
I mean, they each get a guarantee. Khabib's was $2 million. Conor's was $3 million.
Yep.
Conor got his. They also get a cut of the pay-per-view money, that kind of stuff, which is estimated to be. It was estimated pre-fight to be anywhere between 50 and 100 million.
Right.
It's a nice paycheck.
But now this kind of has a more of a backstory. Months and months ago, way before this fight was ever gonna occur, Conor McGregor took a heavy metal dolly and threw it at Khabib's tour bus.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
And it broke a window. Somebody got bloody.
Damn.
And so he actually, he got arrested for a little bit for doing that. And then, obviously the press events leading up to this, he's talking about his father and talking about his country and talking about
just a bunch of bad smack talk. Like
now,
really,
usually,
like below the belt kind of, smack talk.
But however, that's what you do to promote a fight. Usually everybody knows that's to get the hype up, to make more money. It's good for both sides. And usually at the end, Conor and whoever, it doesn't matter who wins or loses, they shake hands at the end of the day. But this guy was taking it really personal. And it actually goes back a lot further. It goes back to that bus incident when kind of all this started. But the thing is this guy has he has ties to, like, terrorists.
Yeah.
And I just honestly, I didn't like the look or sound of him to begin with. Like, he sounds like he might be a terrorist himself. Now, I'm not saying he is. He's probably just some guy from the slums that has no choice but to hang around with these people.
He may have had to hang with some undesirables in order to get to where he is and get the right promotion and get the right kind of cash that he needs for training and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. So,
well, that there were 3 arrests because of that brawl.
Yeah, and then Conor wouldn't press charges.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I think that's kind of a stand-up thing to do. Don't press charges. Everybody's kind of, emotions are running high.
Yeah.
In that situation.
I wouldn't either. Well, I mean, that would be kind of a bitch move. Even though what Khabib and his entourage did was totally, I mean, pardon the pun, but it puts a black eye on that whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's one thing to have
2 wrongs to make a right.
It's one thing to be a bad sport when you lose, and then to be a bad sport when you win. I mean,
yeah,
that should have been his night. And Dana White, the head of the UFC, he couldn't even give him the belt in the ring after all that.
Yeah,
he had to rush him out of there because he knew that everybody was going to start throwing trash into the octagon if he would have put the belt on him in there. And they were throwing trash at him as they carried him out of there, basically, or walked him out.
Kind of like I avoided the any kind of like video regarding that whole fight. I also avoided hearing anything that Joe Rogan might have had to say about it. Did you hear anything like his opinions? I mean, I did read a couple of things that he said, and he was like, I think they were more like tweets or whatever that he made, and it was like, Khabib could put up a good fight. Wasn't cool what he did afterward, but still, you got to give the man props. And it's like, what?
Yeah, I think he said something like, it's kind of a black eye on the UFC. It's a bad night all the way around. But listen, man, I don't care what they say, and I think Joe Rogan is kind of in the know, and he's just playing stupid. If you don't think the UFC is going to use this to sell the rematch, you're crazy. Yeah. You got a Russian guy, you got the Irish guy, and now you have this brawl that happens after the match. They used the Dolly incident to push this match.
Yeah.
So this is just more press. Yeah. So, and I'm not saying it's set up, but, it was a real thing. But I'm just saying everybody, including Rogan, that's saying it's a bad night for you. No, it's not. They're going to use this for promotion. It's going to make everybody money. At the end of the day, it's entertainment. It's what it is. But I'll say another thing about this before we move on is that I miss heavyweight boxing, man. I just Conor's a great showman, He kind of reminds me, like back in the good old days, Muhammad Ali talking smack and all this, and that's fine. But with mixed martial arts in the UFC, it just, to me, it gets boring because, okay, you have a great striker. Well, then you have a great kicker, and then he takes him out. And then the kicker doesn't know how to wrestle, so then you get him with a wrestler, and then he wins. It's like, because it's mixed martial arts, you can find anybody that's good at one thing and somebody's not good at another.
Rock, paper, and scissors.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's a great point there. And I just miss the fair matchups where it's just boxing. Just to see, or maybe just pin 2 wrestlers against each other, or 2 strikers or 2 wrestlers or 2 kickboxers. The whole thing with a grappler versus a striker, I don't know. It's just, it doesn't surprise me that Conor lost, but it's also kind of upsetting. It's like, well, of course he lost. He's not good at that.
Right.
You know, put him with somebody that's a boxer and see what happens. You know, that's more interesting to me.
I think honestly, the last boxing match that I watched was probably in the 90s, and it involved Tyson. I think it was when
Holyfield?
When Tyson
Bit his ear?
Yeah, bit off his ear.
After that, you know, Lennox Lewis, he beat Tyson as well. The newest, either he is already or he's soon to be the heavyweight champion in boxing, is a guy named Anthony Joshua. He's British, I believe.
Well, you know, all that stuff was awesome when it was on like HBO or something like that. But now it's all pay per view.
Yeah,
you know, it's all $59.99 for the HD version.
I don't know why the public puts up with that, because back in the day, you're right. Yeah, we just
People
had to pay
paying it.
$10 a month for HBO, and you got to see all
they
the
get $100
heavyweight
million
stuff.
for this crap.
And none of the bars play it. You know, back when it was on HBO, the heavyweight matches, you could go, if you didn't have HBO, you could just go to your local sports bar and it'd be on.
Yep.
Nowadays,
that's
you
where
can't
I'd
do
catch
that.
it. That's where I'd catch the Tyson fights.
You know, you can go to some of these wing joints, and you call them up, and hey, are you playing the UFC match? No, it's on pay per view. Of course, we're not. Like,
Did you see it was a while ago. I want to say probably about 4 or 5 years ago. Tyson did like a kind of a spoken word kind of show. I want to say it was HBO.
Okay.
And it was just him on a stage with, you know, behind him was big, like, you know, TV screen, like the whole curtain was just a big TV screen, and they would like a slideshow kind of thing of his life, and it was just him talking about his life from birth up till then. And it was he impressed the hell out of me with his number one. He doesn't always talk like this, you know.
Well, he tours that, I believe.
Yeah,
he goes around and does it like a stand-up.
It was a really good show.
Like
me and the wife
comedian
watched it
would
going,
do it.
I can't believe how good this is. This is amazing.
Anyway, in light of it being October, and you know, I'm gonna play some EVPs eventually, next episode or two. But I figured I would share one of my most frightening experiences with having to do with paranormal, with ghosts. And basically, as you know, I did a lot of ghost hunting back in the day to try to prove it to myself, because I grew up in a house that had poltergeist activity. You know, stuff would move and a lot of things happen. And, you know, we may go into those stories later.
I had that too, but I just called it my dad was drinking again.
Right. Yeah, well, this was not that. And so, anyway, so I did paranormal investigations for many years and proved it to myself. And in addition to that, not only gathering my own evidence and proving it to myself, it also can follow you home. And it did. It followed me home. And so the last year that I was doing this, you know, very active. And sometimes I still may do it if somebody says, if they claim they have activity or something. But other than that, I'm not, you know, on a team or going out every weekend looking for hot spots or anything like that. But back when I was, the last year that I did it, I was living alone. And over the course of that year, things started to happen in that house. And we would hear two grown men having conversations in the basement. This would happen in the early morning, like anywhere from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m., you know, somewhere in that.
That was at the house that SMC is in now?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. And one night, my mom stayed over on the couch, and I hadn't told her anything about the voices coming from the basement, but you could hear it through the vents from upstairs. I woke up that morning. Mom says, "Do you have a radio on in the basement or anything?" And I said, "No." I said, "Did you hear people talking?" And she goes, "Yeah, it sounds like a talk radio or something." I said, "Two men, right?" She said, "Yeah." She said, I would go to the top of the stairs and listen, and then as soon as I would open the door, it'd go away. And I'd shut the door and go lay back down on the couch, and then I would start to hear it again. And it was just loud enough to where you could never make out what they were saying. One morning, I even put my ear to the vent to try to see if I could make it out, but I could not make out the conversation. It just sounds like two men mumbling.
You never thought to take like an audio recorder and like just lay it by the vent?
No, never did that. I did set up a camera for many, many nights because I had a dog, and I had a dog cage in there. When my dog was younger, I would put him in the cage when I would leave the house, so he wouldn't, have an accident in the house. But he ended up liking the cage even after he was house trained. He just liked to lay in there. So I never folded it up and put it away. I just left it in the kitchen.
Sure.
And so at night, the dog would come sleep in the bedroom. And one night, I heard that cage just... Basically, I heard a bunch of rattling, like rattling metal. And I ran into the kitchen. The living room, kitchen is just pretty much the same room. It's just divided by a wall. And sure enough, after investigating what could have made that sound, it was the cage door slamming over and over.
So it wasn't like a mouse or nothing. It was It was a major... Something was...
So I successfully recreated the noise by taking that cage door and slamming it as hard as I could. And what it was the cage door slamming over and over and over and over until I ran in there.
Dude, I had a haul that's the Best Buy and bought the nicest, or Sam's, and bought the best home security thing and wired it all up.
Mm-hmm. Well, I had one better. Stuff. I had one of the last video cameras that were reasonably priced that had a super night vision on there.
Nice.
So I set that up for a good 4 months every night facing the cage, and I never caught it. Even one night I heard the sound.
Double slit.
One night I heard the cage rattle, and then I played the tape back. Nothing happened.
If it's being observed,
you couldn't even hear the sound on the videotape, but I heard the cage getting kicked, but it wasn't on the camera, so figure that one out. Anyway, point being, I'm laying there one night. I shut the bedroom door. The dog's in there with me. I just shut the TV off and lay down. And in that house is one of those very long, narrow hallways.
I remember it.
That goes all the way to the other end of the house.
It's a long house.
And so as soon as I shut the TV off and the lights and lay down, and I'm the only one in the house, and this is a pretty big house. It's like 2,000 square feet, and it's a full basement and everything. And I'm upstairs. I hear a woman's voice all the way at the other end of the hallway in the living room kitchen area, screaming at the top of her lungs. And I get chills just thinking about it. I don't know what she was saying, but it sounded like some voodoo Latin crazy language.
Wow.
Some gobbledygook, and it was coming very fast from one end of the house to the other. Basically, it would be as if you stood at that wall and started running and screaming as loud as you could and running towards me. So the audio, the voice screaming of this woman was moving really fast towards the bedroom door. The only thing you couldn't hear was the footsteps. So it was floating.
Now, was there like certain times a day, or was this always at night?
This just happened once.
Okay.
This has just happened one time.
Well, the slamming obviously happened at night at the door because the dog was in bed with you.
That would happen at like 2, 3 in the morning. That's when that would happen. I can't remember what time it was when this lady came screaming down the hallway. Wow. But it is the most frightening thing. I think it's one of the most frightening things I've ever experienced. She was screaming as loud as she could, some different language. Is coming down the hall, and I'm literally the force, the speed to which this was moving down the hall, and the volume level is just unimaginable.
It was like, well, it was supernatural.
Man, my dog. I looked at my dog, and he was just ears up, looking dead at the door. I thought when this thing made it to the door, as it was coming down on, and this all took, you know, what, a matter of 6 seconds or something.
Right.
But when it got to the door, man, I was up against the wall, like up in the bed like this, because I thought when
it had you for real.
No, man. Well, I just knew that when it made it to that door was blowing open. Like there was nothing that was going to stop this thing, you know. And sure enough, as soon as it hit right at the door, like someone's face screaming all kind of different crazy language, as soon as it got to the door, gone. And I am not embarrassed to say, I turned the light on. I did not open that door all night. I turned the TV on. I turned it up really loud so I couldn't hear any other activity. And me and the dog sat there and watched TV until I could start to see the sunrise, and then I opened the door up.
Yeah. If you would have, at the time, if you would have been in possession of a, you know, handgun, would you, you know, that was right there, would you have, you got to go check what this is?
No, not at all. You forget.
So you're not like the guy who put, you know, 3 bullets in his walls and
no, man.
claimed it was a ghost that kept breaking into his house.
You know, I knew that. You know, you know, it's paranormal. You know, as far as you know, they can't physically harm you other than scratch you or something like that. So
scare the crap out of you. They can dirty your underwear.
I just knew that door was going to blow open. I got to say, like.
And your dog was in the room with you, right?
Yeah, he was terrified as well.
So you were living alone at the time, and you had your doors closed?
The bedroom door, yeah.
I sleep with my door open.
Do you?
Hell yeah, I got my dog's like really good about bumping at night.